That's the name. The guy came up with the words, who did the potato famine.
Yeah.
We had the French name, but he was German.
Yeah.
Hendrik Anton de Barry. Hendrik Adolf Anton de Barry. So he's the one who worked out symbiosis because he was a mycologist studying fungi, and he found this fungi linking on with this algae to produce lichen. They got married, Mr. and Mrs. Lichen. So the fungi protects the lichen from drying out. This is when, you got to imagine, when the earth first formed, there's no oxygen. It was anaerobic. And it wasn't any of the free oxygen like that we have today, the O2. So what happened is, where'd the oxygen come from?
Plants.
Water.
Pre-plants.
Oh, pre-plants.
Yeah, like it's the cyanobacteria. We're talking about like the stromatolites. This thing here, they were producing, the waste product of cyanobacteria was oxygen, and as well as their little stromatolites is actually the waste product of it, but they gave off oxygen, poisoned the waters. The whole sea went red from the highly mineralised ions that was in the water. And you know, any of you been up to Carragini up north? Carragini is all formed by life itself. All those rocks, when you go down the gorges, those layers and layers and layers of sedimentary ironstone rocks are all from life, because that is where that used to be covered with sea. The sea reacted with the oxygen and it rusted, and that all fell down from the cyanobacteria. When the sea was saturated, the oxygen went into the atmosphere and produced the oxygen that we live, to block out also the UV rays. And then life in the sea said, hey, let's get out of here. It's like this big barrier, and the first guys to get out were said, look, if you work with me, fungi and algae, married Mr. and Mrs. Lichen, this is it, rhodophyta lichen, the first living organism to emerge out of the sea, right beside us. The black is where it used to die, but still living. And these rocks here, these quartz crystals, when we first whacked in, this is what happened. Imagine this is the North Pole, this is the South Pole. 1,100 million years ago, this rock was here. Then we whacked into Antarctica, forming the mountain range higher than the Swiss Alps. Then everyone joined together. About 250 million years ago, the Northern Hemisphere joined in as well. But we'd already been there, so we came down south, part of what was the great supercontinent to the south called? Gondwana. What was when we were joined, it was Pangaea
Laurasia.
and Laurasia. So here we have the first place to break off 140 million years ago. Africa bashed off to the side, racked into Europe, forming the Swiss, Austrian, French, German, Italian Alps. Then India broke off us, forming the Darling Scarp of WA. Formed the Himalayas here, black basalt rocks from the back beach of Bunbury, turned up here in Tibet. Then Australia broke off, New Zealand slipped to the side, Antarctica straight through here. We're still joined on here though by South America. And what happened when South America dropped off, now I'm opening up the world, you've got, going into Mercator projection. North America is here, and they've just found the oldest marsupial in the world has been found in China here, 125 million year old Sinodelphus alay. The marsupials didn't come to Australia through this way, because we're still heading that. They came this way, through Antarctica onto Australia, and that's where we're heading now. So there's still 72 species of marsupials still exist today in South America. They used to be all over Antarctica, but when South America dropped off, it set up the circumpolar current, turned it from a rainforest to ice, killed everything, but we drifted up and became the great Australian ark. Drifted in. Spawned all these hosts of species for now rest in the world. But Australia, that's just where we are now. You know how I said these rocks have been to the North Pole and the South Pole? Look, through frozen magnetism, when we whacked into Antarctica, the ionised magnets of the iron crystals lined up to the magnetic field. The magnetic field of the Earth is like this. You stand at the North Pole and have a free-ranging compass, it goes that way. The South Pole goes that way. Equator, it goes this way. So when there's the latitudes, there's a different magnetic field, and they can tell from these rocks where they formed which latitude. Then they can date it, because these rocks within them are zirconium silicate crystals that form like onion peel, and the uranium isotopes get trapped in there and they decompose, so they turn to lead, and they can tell the age. So we can tell not only where we were but when we were, and this is the latest mapping on the movement of Australia. The oldest rock in the world, the oldest crystals I should say, ever found in the Earth. Can't forget, nice one, right there, don't forget you. The oldest place on the Earth's crust that they found is here in Western Australia, Mountain area, 4,400 million year old zirconium silicate crystal. So imagine this is a time span. This is the equator here, the North Pole, the South Pole. This here is 4.4 billion. This has been 4 billion, 3 billion, 2 billion, 1 billion today. All right, so South Pole, equator, North Pole. The movement of Australia, imagine this, is the oldest part. I should say Western Australia because they came after. And so what happened, we went from here to the North Pole. We've been there. We went to here, to the South Pole. We went back up again. We whoop-de-dooed here. Here's Pangea, when we linked together, and now we're there. Pangea is just the other day. Ha! All this has happened. We've already been together 2-3 times, but no one ever wants to figure out that one. But look, the oldest tangible evidence of life on Earth, though, was found here when we were there. That's the stromatolites, which were found here in the North Pole near Marble Bar. That's the ones that were eventually the ones to Mantra. And so that's Pangea just the other day. So we're now heading that direction onto, into that direction onto our third trip to the Northern Hemisphere. At the moment we're bashing into the Indonesian plate. And go onto Google Earth again. Look closely at the way Papua New Guinea is entering into Indonesia. It's folding it like that. We're just pushing them out of the way. It's all there, you can follow the grain, because when you look at Australia, don't think about it just above the water. Water's just like a big puddle, but they follow where the continental shelf is and how it links in. We have what's called the Indo-Australasian plate, because that's where India bashed off, but you know, we're still heading in this. Papua New Guinea is our leading edge, our kangaroo bar. Out the way, out the way. I think it's coming up by now. Did you follow that? Yeah. The history of the world according to Woolpot. Yeah. These rocks are done. So they've eroded from a mountain range to this. The Swiss Alps will look like this in a few years' time.